Well, first I'd like to start by thanking the BBC for letting me on. It's not something that happens very often. And in answer to your question, for example, the Durham branch that we have, County Durham British National Party, it started off 2 years ago with 3 disgruntled chaps sat in a local village beer garden, and it's now known throughout the country, known nationally, and Gordon Brown actually knows our names, and he trembles when he hears them. So,
does he really?
Well, why am I
What evidence
here?
have you got of that?
What evidence have I got of that? We've just seen MP Phil Wilson there putting all of this money into this anti-BNP campaign.
You still have not won a single council seat, though, despite the efforts you put in.
Absolutely, but what I'm trying to say is this is what we've achieved in 2 years. Imagine what's going to be like in 10 years' time, because the public have had enough.
But what the other parties say is right, isn't it? Actually, the voters that you're getting, you're hoodwinking. All this community politics, all this touchy-feely stuff, is a veneer. At the core of your party, as they say, is racism and hatred.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, because it's not. If the BNP was a racist party, I wouldn't be in it. I would leave. I would walk away and join something like the National Black Police Association, but obviously I can't because I'm white. But that's not racist, is it?
Well, let's have a look at your constitution. Your constitution, right, this is your own constitution, commits you to restoring Britain's racial mix to that last seen in 1948, which effectively means trying to get black and Asian British citizens to leave their own country that they've lived in and worked in since their birth. You don't bang on about that in your leaflets.
We're quite happy to tell the truth and answer any questions.
Why isn't that in your leaflets?
Because that isn't the issue. I'm here
well, that's in your constitution. That's one of your fundamental political principles, to restore Britain to the racial mix of 1948.
But we talk to the people, we listen to the people, and we know what the people want, because we are the people. We don't make these policies up. We don't do what what we want to do. We do what the general British public want to do. And this is the British public that feel that they aren't being listened to.
You haven't got a single council. You can't claim to represent the British people. Look at your constitution again. It says you're wholly opposed to any racial integration between British and non-European peoples. What does that mean? Does that mean no mixed marriages? You can't go to school with someone from a different race? You can't travel on a bus with them? What does it mean?
Absolutely not. It basically means that if I go to Japan, I expect to see a Japanese person, and so on. If you come to Great Britain, why can't you just expect to see a British person?
But your definition of a British person is someone who isn't black or Asian, and yet they're born in Britain. They consider themselves just as British as you do.
Providing they're contributing to the society and they're not breaking the law, they're more than welcome.
Well, white people, if they're not breaking the law, they're welcome as well, are they? But they're as British as you are.
Yeah, but what you're constantly banging on about is racism, you're racist.
Well, it's in your constitution. I haven't pulled it out of thin air. Let's have a look at a leaflet that was in the Whitehaven by-election.
Show me anywhere in that manifesto that shows that we're racist.
Well, I think a lot of people would say wholly against racial integration, trying to restore the racial mix of 1948 was racist. But anyway, let's have a look at your leaflet.
All we're trying to do is preserve our history, our heritage and our culture.
Well,
that's not racist.
People would disagree. Let's have a look at your leaflet in the Whitehaven by-election. Right, this is an area that's overwhelmingly white. It says, we will oppose any planning applications for mosques. These buildings are unsightly and parking problems make life a misery for residents, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Whitehaven's overwhelmingly white. That's just pathetic, isn't it? It's a bit of racial hatred. A church could cause just as many parking problems. The point is you're trying to stir up racial problems.
We live in a Christian society.
We live in a multicultural society. There are Christians, there are Muslims.
Did we ask to live in a multicultural society? Were we asked?
So you're happy with that?
Like I say, I'm not speaking on behalf of myself. I'm speaking on behalf of the general public who feel betrayed and not listened to. Well, and that is why
not enough of them are voting to get you councillors, but we'll return to that because we're not going to agree on whether you're racist or not. But where do you go from here? What do you want to achieve electorally? I mean, you're a million miles away from being in government, aren't you?
I wouldn't say we're a million miles away, and I certainly wouldn't say we're a million years away. If you look at what we've achieved recently, we're breathing down the necks of the Labour Party. They know that, and that's why they're coming up with all this negative propaganda. We don't do negative politics. We don't have to. The truth is all we need.